Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chonda Costin coming from Maryland for the Heat Foundation, and today we will be talking about business basics and funding. And it is 11:59, so I'm gonna give people just a few minutes to jump on, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started. Basics and funding, and it is 11. Give me a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and share this to my page. Okay, great. So now that that is done, basically, I wanted to take the time to welcome you guys to our first life skill class of 2022. We are a nonprofit organization that services the Hampton and Newport News area of Hampton Roads. Our primary objective is to serve areas that are affected by gang and gun violence. And so, a life skills class is anything that you may not learn in high school and you may not learn at home, but it will be beneficial to your life. One of our classes
Okay,
that is
great. So now
highly
that that is
sought after is our business basics and funding. Lots of people love this class for obvious reasons. And so we're going to go ahead and get started in that. As I said before, I am the vice president and the COO of the He Foundation. And sorry, the COO of the He Foundation. And we started this foundation in the year of 2018 due to the death of Rocky Brooks. And we service areas again that are primarily affected by gang and gun violence. What qualifies me, I am a business owner. I make six figures in my company. I've also assisted other people to make over six figures in their company. And so, obviously, um, I know a little bit about what it takes to establish a company as well as what it takes to make money, uh, which is the goal. And so I'd like to share that with you guys today. So, first things first, if you are trying to start a company, you want to identify your why. Why do you want to create a company? Is it just to make money on the side, a side hustle? Do you want to make it for legacy reasons? Do you want to pass something on to your children? Or do you just need extra money, income in the house? What is the purpose of this company? And that'll, for the most part, determine the route that you take. If you want to go through the issues of getting a business structure, business funding, etc. But we're going to go all the way through that as well as cover the basis of establishing business credit, because that is very beneficial if you are looking to establish a company long term. So after you identify your why you're establishing your company, you want to identify your target market. This is known as your niche. The more specific you are, the more money you'll make. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people say their business will basically cover everybody. But if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to no one. If you can answer or solve a problem for one person, then trust me, you'll make lots of money. It's better to be a specialist than to be all over the place. And it'll save you money from a marketing standpoint. The other thing I tell people, you need to understand or identify your profit levels. Do you want to make an extra $500 a month? Or do you want to make an extra $10,000 a month? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And that'll kind of help you also establish your business goals. Um, And so moving from there, once you have your why identified, once you have your niche market identified, your demographics, your ideal customer, once you know an idea of how much money you want to make, then you should also start looking at your framework. And when I say framework, this is going to be the foundation of your company. Okay, so business foundation, your business structure. First things first, what does it take to establish your company? Are there any required licensing, etc.? Um, do you want to do an LLC or an S corp? So they both offer different protections and different requirements for taxes. A lot of people that are starting small businesses, they'll immediately go with the LLC, and that's fine because it does offer you some protection. At a minimum, I would say to go with an LLC, a limited liability corporation. Those are very easy to establish. It only requires a few $100s. You file it with the state, and you're good to go. Again, with the business foundation, you'll also need to acquire EIN. This is your tax ID. So for your business purposes, it's like your business social security number. Your business, your LLC or your business structure will operate and be able to enter into contracts just as you would as a person, and your EIN would act as the business's social security number or how the government would identify that company. And we'll get into why that's important too once we get to the business credit portion. And everything I'm going to tell you is going to be to establish business credit. And so it may be some things that if you decide you just want to do this as a side hustle, you may not deem necessary. But if you're going to establish business credit to fund your company, grow your company, then you'll definitely need this information. Business address. And for all intents and purposes, you will not be allowed to use any PO boxes or the UPS mailboxes in the stores. You actually need a physical address. If you're a small company and you want to use your home address for a while, that's fine. But as soon as you're able or you generate enough income, I would advise you to get a small virtual office as a business address. And so, business entity structure, we talked about that a little bit with the S Corp, the C Corp, or the LLC. We highly advise against the sole proprietorship. You cannot establish business credit with a sole proprietorship, which is basically using your social security number. You have to have some type of legal entity. And again, you can file those with your Secretary of State. If you're going to use your business as a umbrella, then you may want to do something like a doing business as, they call them DBAs, and you will be able to accept checks and enter contracts under your DBA, but that is an additional fee. Me personally, I have an LLC, but I also have a DBA. So my LLC is Kingdom Concepts LLC, and my DBA, doing business as, is Kingdom Concepts Consulting. And so I can enter into contracts, I can receive checks, all that under Kingdom Concepts Consulting, even though it's attached to Kingdom Concepts LLC. So, depending on the type of business you go into, if it's virtual, if it's an actual brick and mortar company, you will need to go through your state and find out what kind of business licenses are required. Products and services, brick and mortar, etc. They have different requirements. In every industry, have different requirements. If you're doing hair, of course, you got to be licensed for that. Makeup, esthetician, that kind of thing. Car detailing, you probably don't need any licenses for that other than the sales tax. And so you just want to go and do a little bit of research so that you can be best equipped to service your clients without having any issues on your end financially or legally. You'll also need a business checking account. You can go to your local bank or credit union, or lots of places actually allow you to get business checking accounts online. So you can just set it up online. As long as you have your documentation, they'll work with you, and that'll take care of that. Merchant accounts. So if you are doing a business online, it is highly recommended that you have a merchant account. And there's typically no upfront costs unless you have equipment. And what I'm talking about is like your Squares, your apps, your Venmos, your PayPals, things like that. So you have more than one way to receive your money, because I mean the goal is to make money. So you want to make sure that you've done that. Most companies or lenders expect for you to have a domain. A domain is basically where you would host a website. The other reason you want to have that is so that you can have a professional looking email address, not your Gmail, your Yahoo, or anything else out there. But with a URL, you're able to get a URL extension that will also have your email address, i.e., the Heat Foundation. Our URL is theheatfoundation.org, and our email address is info@theheatfoundation.org. And so that looks a lot more professional. It is only a few dollars a month. So there's a small investment up front, but it's necessary for business funding. Um, and it looks more professional too. If you wanted to go into the e-commerce space, then we use, and I say we because all of my children have businesses, Shopify. It is pretty modular and easy to function. Lots of tutorials, and it works. There's lots of other ones out there. We just haven't worked with them, so I can't recommend them. But do your research again. See what works best for you. Make sure that you pay attention to all of the tax requirements for your state for those. Um, but it's an option. With the way the world has been in the last 2 years, I recommend everyone have a business. And you can always do a dropship business if you do what is it, a virtual boutique or online store. Um, for business funding purposes, you will need a phone number that is dedicated to your business. There are lots of companies that will sell you a virtual phone number that forwards directly to your personal phone number, and that will mask your number, and you can use it to dial out as well as for them to dial in. We use Freedom Voice. It's very inexpensive. These plugs are just, they're not, I'm not plugging for any particular company. I'm just giving you recommendations for companies that we use and that we can vouch for. But Freedom Voice is the one that we use for the foundation as well as for other businesses that we have. And you also must be registered with 411 directory. And you can list yourself for the basic registration for free. And so this is the basis for establishing a company for business funding purposes. And I know that was a ton of information from like everything, but I wanted to kind of get through that quickly so that we can move into the gist of it, which is the business funding piece. In order to establish business credit, you must be registered with Dun Bradstreet. This is also completely free. And what I would tell you is to be careful because Dun Bradstreet is a company that makes money off of people, and they will try to make money off of you. You do not have to buy anything in order to establish your company or register with Dun Bradstreet. And they also report your credit out, and you will need that in order to kind of keep abreast of how you reported this credit out. If you wanted to do business with the government for contracts, or if you have a nonprofit and you want to go after grants with the government, then you also should register with Sam.gov. Sam.gov is a lengthy registration. It's not difficult. You kind of walk through it. If you needed some assistance, it's not difficult. It's completely free. So if you see someone asking you to pay for it, then it's not necessary. But it's necessary. You must register with them to do business with the government. And you must register with them in order to go after grants with the government. Another tool I like to have people register with is NAV, NAV. It is for business credit. There is a free subscription as well as a paid subscription, but the benefit of NAV, NAV is it will track your business credit for you, similar to Credit Karma, but for business. So if you're deciding that you want to go after business credit for your company, I strongly recommend that you register for that as well. So really quickly, for the business credit piece, business credit can be established without using your social security number. I speak from experience because I've done that. And it is beneficial if you're going long term for your business, and it can be used for almost anything. If you're establishing business credit and you are consistent with it, then you can establish 100,000 in business credit within 9 to 12 months, easy. It does take money. The way I know it takes money up front in order to establish a business credit, because you have to establish your net 30 accounts, net 60 accounts, etc. Net simply meaning that they give you a credit account, and anything that you put on that credit account, then you have to pay it off within that 30 days. So once you establish a business framework and you've done all those things that we just spoke about, and you've registered with those different agents, then you can start looking at actually establishing your business credit. which is pretty easy to do. You're not required to have a credit history. So the way business credit work, they don't monitor, or they don't grade you the same way as your personal credit. So with business credit, they are more so looking to make sure you make your payments on time. They're not really concerned with your usage. And when you first establish your net 30 accounts, what they're going to ask you for are it's going to be a variety depending on the vendor. It's going to be a variety of the things that we talked about: your company's name, if there's an LLC, if there is articles, your phone number, your address, your Dun Bradstreet number, your EIN. Is going to be a variety depending on the company. But with each one of those accounts, once you establish them, you have to wait a cycle for them to report out and to show up on your NAV account. So the importance of having your NAV account is that you can go back and actually check and see, once they've cycled, that they're showing up as trade lines. So once you have established anywhere from 4 to 6 net 30 trade line accounts, then you're ready to move to your next cycle. So the importance of that is basically showing that these vendors have offered or allowed you to establish credit in your business name without using your personal credit. And the amounts will vary. The amounts will vary because even though they give you the net 30 account, they're only going to show credit towards whatever purchases you make. So if you make a purchase of $100 with each one of those accounts, 4 different accounts, it's going to show that each one of those accounts, you basically use $100. And you build it up over time. The accounts vary through various different industries. There's a list. If you would like, I'm going to give you a list here, but if you would like my notes, then just email us and I'll send them over to you. Companies like Quill, Uline, Satan, Granger, Tomo, all of those companies will give you a net 30 account. And all you have to do is show them that you have your business structure in place. Within the 30-day time frame, you pay those accounts off, and then they'll report when they're in good standing, but they'll also show that you spent money with those accounts. So it's going to take approximately 30 to 60 days in order to establish the accounts, make the purchases, pay them off, for it to cycle out. The next level of accounts are going to be like your store credit accounts. Those are going to be like your Lowe's, your Office Depots, your Home Depots. The benefit of these, of course, you can always buy any of your office supplies. Some people use business credit towards Airbnbs, flipping houses, that kind of thing. And so they buy the Lowe's and stuff from Granger. But it's the same thing. You get a store credit account, the expectation is that you maintain it. They don't care if you max it out. You just have to pay it off on time within that allotted amount of time. And so it's the same. Amazon will also give you a line of credit as well as a credit card in your business account. So speaking from experience, I have out of the 5 rounds that you can have, I have up to the 4th. So speaking from experience, it can be done. You don't have to use your personal credit, and they give you large amounts of credit as long as you pay it off in time. And this allows you to build your company. And if I find a need for that, or people begin to ask for that, then I'll go and do a segment on business credit solely. Everything that I mentioned here could possibly be taught on its own for an hour or two, but we won't do that for the sake of time. The next one would be major credit accounts for your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover cards. So each time you're going to allow the cycle to go 30 to 60 days. Once it's reporting on your business account, your business credit account, then you can move to the next cycle. And so, again, your 3rd round would be any of your Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover. And as we know, any of those major credit card companies can be used for almost anything, even to pull off cash off of the card. Another thing about those that is very beneficial is that when you get personal credit cards, your personal credit cards are only for a few $1,000s, but they understand that when you get business credit, that is for business purposes. And so the amounts for business credit are typically a lot larger, $20,000 to $100,000 for a credit card. And so it really depends on how you manage it. You make your payments on time, and that you're consistent, you're reporting income within your company and things like that. One of the ones I use for your round one of one of the companies that's used is a Tomo. Tomo is based completely on your business banking account, and so the amount of credits you get there will be determined on how much money you have in your business account. The other ones do not require you to have to know anything about your business banking account. They're just going to give it to you based on you having the other items in place. Um, but going back to your round four. So round four is your lines of credit for car leasing and loans. If you get a line of credit for business purposes, you can use it for almost anything. So I know people that use business line of credits. They use it to buy houses, flip houses, do the renovations on houses. They use it to buy cars, to rent them on through Turo, kind of along the same lines like everyone is doing the Airbnb. Everyone's now doing the rental cars. But you can use a business line of credit for that. You can also use it to buy inventory, so you don't have to use your own money for your company. You can all different types of things. If you do event planning, then you can use your line of credit to plan your event and then pay it off once you get paid from your client. So you don't have to use your personal income in your credit. And then the last one, of course, is business loans. So with the last 2 years and everything that has taken place, a lot of people have gotten business loans through the SBA because of COVID. That probably will never happen again. But business loans are very beneficial for that reason because you can definitely take advantage and do great things for your company. This training is supposed to be for 2 hours, but unfortunately, I don't see any questions. And so I'm going to close it out. Again, my name is Chonda Costin. I am the Vice President and COO of the He Foundation. This training was on basic business skills and funding. If you found it beneficial and you would like a copy of our notes, everything that was discussed here and outlined, feel free to email us at info@thehefoundation.org. Again, that is info@thehefoundation.org, and we'll shoot it over to you. And I look forward to talking to you guys and next time. Take care.